Hello! Welcome to our workplace webinar. Masaya ako na nakasama kayo ngayon. I am so glad that you are able to participate in this very timely and relevant conversation about overcoming our inner struggles. Sana ay marami kayong matutunan at marami kayong ma-apply sa inyong buhay. Every person battles with inner feelings and emotions every day. Bahagi daw ito ng ating araw-araw na pamumuhay. Fear, anger, worry, stress, burnout. There are some important truths that these emotions reveal about us. Number one, these inner struggles reveal that we are human. Kapag ka nag-i-struggle ka raw sa takot, sa mga pangamba, at sa stress, at sa kung ano-ano pang mga emosyon, ibig sabihin tao ka. Our existence as human beings have more meaning and more quality because of the struggle with our emotions. Number two, these inner struggles, if not managed well, can destroy your life. Yan daw ang problema. Minsan, kapag ka nasobrahan ka ng takot, nasobrahan ka ng galit, nasobrahan ka ng stress, nasobrahan ka ng worry, it can lead to destructive, damaging effects in our lives. Number three, these inner struggles can lead to something beautiful. Pero pwede naman daw mai-channel, maitama ang mga emosyong ito at magkaroon ng magandang kalalabasan sa ating mga buhay. They can lead to something that is meaningful, flourishing, something positive that brings healing, that brings restoration to our lives. So in the next few months, we will be going through a series, a 5-part series of workplace webinars entitled Overcome Your Inner Struggles. We will talk about how do we manage our emotions and channel them into something positive and something beautiful. And so today we'll be talking about our first part, how to overcome fear. We all struggle with fear. Fear can be a destructive human emotion. Ang takot daw ay bahagi ng ating buhay. Lahat tayo natatakot. Lahat tayo may kinakatakutan. What if I get sick? Paano kung magkasakit ako? What if the person I love dies? Paano kung yung mahal ko sa buhay ay mamatay? What if I run out of money and become poor? Paano kung maghirap ako at mawalan na ako ng pera? What if my spouse or partner cheats on me? Paano kung yung mahal ko hindi na ako mahal? What if I'm no longer attractive? Paano kung pumangit na ako at di na ako maganda? What if I have a terrible accident and I die? Paano kung madisgrasya ako at mamatay na ako? There is an endless list of fears that people have. Fear is part of our lives. Ang dami-dami nating kinakatakutan. Pero alam nyo ba, minsan ang takot daw ay hindi masama. Minsan ang takot ay mabuti sa atin. Sometimes there is nothing wrong with fear. Fear can be good to us. Fear help us avoid death, danger, disease, or damage. Kapag ka daw mayroon kang takot, nag-iingat ka, di ba? Umiiwas ka sa masama, umiiwas ka sa sakuna, umiiwas ka sa sakit, iniingatan mo yung kinakain mo, iniingatan mo yung dinadaanan mo, iniingatan mo yung buhay mo. So fear can be good for us. Fear help us avoid making mistakes that can lead to terrible disasters. Kapag ka may takot, ayaw mong magkamali kasi ayaw mong mapahamak. Kaya minsan, mahalaga ang takot. Maganda ang takot. Nag-iingat ka mag-drive, nag-iingat kang tumawid, nag-iingat ka maglakad, nag-iingat ka sa iyong mga ginagawa para hindi ka masaktan at hindi ka makasakit. Fear helps us to choose wise and healthy decisions. Di ba kapag ka nagkamali ka nung una, sa susunod, ayaw mo na magkamali, ayaw mo na masaktan. So iniingatan mo na kung sinong pipiliin mong mahalin, kung anong pipiliin mong trabaho, kung anong pipiliin mong bagay na bibilhin, kasi natututo daw tayo. So fear helps us in making our choices well. But when fear controls, shapes, and drives our lives, when we panic and when we are paralyzed by fear, then it is wrong. It is destructive. It's unhealthy for us. Fear can destroy us if it is not controlled well. So how do we overcome fear? Paano ba natin mapagtatagumpayan? Paano ba natin maiingatan itong takot na ito na hindi lumala at hindi maging out of control? Guideline number 1. Admit your fear. Isa daw sa mga unang hakbang para ating makontrol ang ating mga takot ay aminin mo ito. Because when we face our fears, when we admit our fears, they have less power over us. Pero the more mong dinideny, the more mong tinatago yung takot mo, the more it has control over your life. So maganda kapag ka meron kang dinadalang takot sa iyong puso, sa iyong buhay, maganda na sabihin mo to sa isang kaibigan. Open up to a group of friends. Open up to someone you trust about your struggles, about your emotions, about your fears. May nasasabihan ka ba ng mga takot mo? Meron ka bang mga taong pinagtitiwalaan na pwede mong sabihan ng lahat ng iyong damdamin at ng lahat ng iyong mga problema at pasanin? When we are able to share our hearts, when we are able to open up about our feelings, about our struggles, about our fears to some people, the more chances we can overcome our fears, the more chances we can control our fears. Guideline number 2, confront your fear. Para mapagtagumpayan mo ang iyong takot, kailangan harapin mo ang iyong takot. Most fears need to be confronted. Yung mga takot natin tulad ng fear of death, fear of heights, fear of strangers, fear of technology, and many others. To act upon your fear means you do everything you can to overcome that fear. Halimbawa, fear of meeting strangers. Natatakot kang makisalamuha sa mga taong hindi mo kilala. One way to overcome that is when you actually meet strangers and you gain confidence. You overcome your fear. Some people overcome their fear of height by going through high places. Some people overcome their fear of technology by actually going through gadgets and trying to overcome their fear. Yun daw ang ibig sabihin ng pagharap sa iyong mga takot. Gagawin mo ang lahat para matutunang malabanan kung ano man yung kinakatakutan mo. Fear of getting hurt can traumatize you and paralyze you into taking risk and taking a step again because of a bad experience in the past. Halimbawa, nasaktan ka noon. Ngayon, ayaw mo na magmahal, natatakot ka na magmahal. This fear of getting hurt. But sometimes we just need to get enough courage to take that step again, to try again, to take risk again. Yung bang handa ka na magkamali uli at handa kang masaktan uli, subukan uli na magmahal. Minsan daw kasi yung ating mga sugat at yung ating mga masamang karanasan noon exaggerate and magnify our fears. Kaya hindi ka makagalaw dahil sa takot. But once you realize the reality and the truth, not all situations are the same, not all relationships are the same, not all experiences are the same. Then you take that step. You try again. You overcome fear. Guideline number 3. Recognize the things you cannot change or you cannot understand. May mga bagay sa buhay natin na hindi mo kayang baguhin, hindi mo kayang kontrolin. May mga bagay sa mundong ito na hindi mo maintindihan. Kailangan tanggapin mo yun. That is how you overcome fear. It helps when we accept that there are things in this world that are beyond our control. Hindi mo talaga kayang pigilin yung mga ibang pangyayari sa ating buhay. You cannot stop people from hurting you. You cannot stop some disaster to take place. So the more we realize that there are circumstances that we cannot prevent, that we cannot predict, or we cannot explain, the less fearful we become. Kung tanggap mo sa iyong puso, tanggap mo sa iyong sarili, na may mga bagay talaga nangyayari sa mundo na masama at pangit at hindi ka nais-nais, mas nababawasan yung takot mo. So fear is now replaced with hope and confidence that there is a God who is in charge of the world, that there is a God who knows better than us, that there is a God that has a better plan, na kahit ano daw ang ating pagdaanan sa mundong ito, mabuti man o masama, pangit man o maganda, alam natin na may Diyos na may hawak sa ating mga buhay. May Diyos na siyang may hawak ng mundo natin. Hindi man natin maintindihan ang mga nangyayari, hindi man natin makontrol ang mga nangyayari. Alam natin na mayroong isa na mas may control ng mga bagay na ito. Guideline number 4, understand that tough times are not forever. Whatever difficult, dark, or disastrous circumstance you are going through, they are temporary. Anumang pangit o madilim na pinagdadaanan mo ngayon, hindi yan magtatagal. Yung ating daw mga problema at yung ating mga pasanin sa buhay, yung ating mga pinagdadaan ng magulo at mapait, ay pansamantala lamang. You may be weeping for the moment, but later comes rejoicing. Remember, tough times don't last, but tough people do. So minsan daw, ang isang paraan para ma-overcome ang ating mga takot is when we realize that whatever we are afraid of, whatever causes fear in our lives, they are temporary. Hindi yan magtatagal. Lilipas din daw ang lahat ng ating mga madilim na pinagdadaanan. Mapapatawad mo din yung nanakit sa'yo. Magtitiwala ka ulit at magmamahal. Gagaling din yung sakit na pinagdadaanan mo. Lilipas din yung problema na gumagapi sa'yo. Guideline number 5, focus on something greater than fear. Ang ganda ho nito, ano? Sometimes it is very powerful and important to realize, to recognize, that courage is not the absence of fear. May takot pa din. But courage, rather, yung tapang, is the realization that something is greater than fear. Minsan hindi naman talaga nawawala ang takot, nandyan lang siya. Pero kaya ka tumatapang ay dahil nakikilala mo at nalalaman mo na mayroong mas matindi, mas matapang, mas malakas kumpara sa iyong mga takot. Ika nga, when you focus on the brighter side, the darkness will lose his power on you. When you focus on whatever is good, whatever is lovely, whatever is true, when you focus on God's love, God's care, God's promises, and God's plan for you, fear is replaced with peace, with confidence, and with courage. When you finally see that problems are small compared to how big God is, nagagapi daw natin ang takot kapag tayo'y nakatutok sa mas malaking Diyos. Pag nalaman natin na ang Diyos ay mas matindi, mas malakas, mas matapang, at higit na mas makapangyarihan kumpara sa ating mga kinakatakutan, fear melts away. We overcome fear when we focus on something greater than fear. Alam niyo ba, na sa Bible, there are 365 passages, Bible verses that talks about do not fear. Parang sinasabi sa atin ng Biblia, sinasabi sa atin ng salita ng Diyos, huwag kang matakot, 365 times. That's one reminder every day for 1 year of telling us, huwag kang matakot, huwag kang mangamba. Ipaglalaban kita, ipagtatanggol kita, sabi ng Diyos. You don't have to be afraid. I am with you. Ibang klase rin talaga ito nagagawa ng pagtitiwala sa Diyos, ano? Kinakapitan ka mas malaki, mas malakas, mas makapangyarihan, then our fear is overcome. Let me tell you about my own story, about my own struggle with fear. Bilang bata, lumaki ako ng maraming takot. But one of my worst fears is the fear of failure. Takot akong magkamali, takot akong pumalpak, takot akong sumablay sa buhay. At dahil sa takot na ito, the fear of failure, I always want things to be perfect. I always want things to be excellent. I want things done the right way. Kaya yun, hirap na hirap akong tanggapin pag nagkakamali ako at pumapalpak ako. Hirap na hirap din akong tanggapin kapag yung ibang tao ay nagkakamali. Ang hirap patawarin kapag sila'y nagkakasala. And this fear of failure is also linked to other fears. Fear of being rejected, fear of being unloved, fear of being a nobody, fear of being labeled as nothing. Nagsimula itong takot na to sa pamilya, sa bahay. Natatakot ako na magkamali dahil baka hindi ako matanggap ng aking mga magulang. Tapos napunta sa eskwelahan. Natatakot akong bumaksak sa aking mga grades at magkaroon ng mababang marka dahil baka hindi ako matanggap ng aking mga teacher. Hanggang sa aking paglaki, takot na hindi ako matanggap sa trabaho o matanggal ako sa trabaho dahil sa hindi magandang aking performance o hindi magandang aking ginagawa. So this fear of failure leads to pressure to perform, to impress, to be perfect, to be excellent all the time. Nakakapagod din yung ganong buhay, di ba? Nung binabalikan ko, ito palang fear of failure, nag-uugat sa mas malalim na fear, fear of not being loved. Dahil sa pakiramdam ko, hindi ako mahal ng tao, nagsisikap ako para mahalin, matanggap ng iba. Kaya ako kailangan maging magaling, mahusay at laging tama. This results to a lot of insecurities. Lagi akong kinakabahan na baka ako ay mali. I am very insecure, I feel ugly, I feel rejected, I feel unworthy, I feel unqualified. I feel like I have to prove myself all the time. Yun ang fear of failure. Another result is I tend to please people. Parang lagi kong dapat pasayahin ng mga tao. I became addicted to people's approval, people's opinion about myself, and people's acceptance of me. Parang laging kinakabahan na baka hindi na ako mahal ng aking kaibigan, baka hindi na ako mahal ng aking asawa, baka hindi na ako mahal ng aking mga magulang, o baka hindi na ako mahal sa trabaho. Do you know what turned my life around? Do you know what melted my fears away? Do you know what changed in my life? It was at the moment when I felt loved by God. Alam niyo ba sabi sa Bible, perfect love drives away fear because there is no fear in love. Kapag naranasan mo raw ang pagmamahal ng Diyos, naranasan mo raw ng tunay ang pag-ibig ng Diyos, parang nalulusaw daw lahat ng takot mo. Dahil lahat ng iyong pangamba na hindi ka tanggap, at hindi ka kaaya-aya, at hindi ka pasado, ay biglang naglalaho. Dahil sa mata ng Diyos, ikaw ay mahal niya, ako ay mahal niya. That is the turning point in my life. It's the love of God. The love of God that melts my fears away. Meron pa rin ako mga takot once in a while sa pang-araw-araw na buhay natin. But I realized there is something stronger than fear, and that's love. There is something stronger than fear, and that is God. The love of God is bigger, greater than fear. That's why we can have courage in life. Kaya daw natin maging matapang at magpatuloy at maging matibay at maging malakas kahit marami tayong mga takot sa ating buhay dahil nandiyan ang Diyos. Kasama natin ang Diyos at mahal tayo ng Diyos. That's why it's very important that we know God personally. That's why it's very important that we encounter and experience the love of God and the forgiveness of God and the acceptance of God. That is the antidote to fear. Yun daw ang panlaban sa ating mga takot. Ang pag-ibig ng Diyos na hindi natatapos, hindi nauubos, hindi tumitigil magmahal. I pray that you encounter God's love so that all your fears will also melt away. That you encounter the love of God so that you will live a life of peace, of joy, of courage, of faith. I pray that you will know God personally. Let me summarize what we learned today. How do you overcome fear? Guideline number 1, admit your fear. Guideline number 2, confront your fear. Guideline number 3, recognize the things you cannot change or understand. Guideline number 4, understand that tough times are not forever. Guideline number 5, focus on something that is greater than fear.